give it like 2 more minutes, and we can just, if that's the case, we can have a general conversation. There's no votes anyway tonight, but we can start talking about it, and then we're gonna have to call another meeting and make sure that we get everybody here. He said there was kind of a large gap by the time we set this meeting and actually had it, so that could potentially be the problem, but he said 2 of them said they were here, so I don't know what's going on.
Next Concom meeting, I
It's
have an
not
agenda
icy
item
yet
to
either,
look
so-
at the
What's
website to
It's
see
not
what we
icy.
have.
No,
So
it's
we
not
can
bad.
decide
Like I said,
how to improve what we've got.
You know,
I was in
didn't
contact with
send
both,
emails out to everybody to say.
Elizabeth
please
Callahan
take
and
it, 'cause
Tracy
I
within the
noticed
last 2
there
days,
was
and they were all like,
so
yeah, you know, meetings at
Need
the
to look
library.
at, even under
I don't
like
know.
forms,
Mhm.
things like that, there's a lot, like I found one that.
I wonder if they knew it was down here.
Recently that was like.
It's on the agenda. I actually sent everybody the link to the agenda today,
That
so.
would be
I've got the
good,
If
agenda.
you look at the agenda, it's right on the agenda where it is, and I sent everybody the link to make sure that, that's one of the things I did, I sent you everybody a link to the agenda, so.
Library's only so big, so you'll find it
Yeah, it's
eventually.
not that hard to figure out.
You know, if we can go forward, and I'm wondering if we should look at how they're presented. No, just regular agenda.
Yeah.
Whether, because like the chapters and.
Let's vote on making the whole center of town commercial.
Here you
And
go.
let's vote on
Yeah, we should
putting
talk
up a
about-
huge
yeah,
hotel
that's
right
all
in the
part of
center
what
where
we
it
should
used
talk
to be.
about.
There we
So
go.
we can
Sounds
wrap
good to
up.
me.
What
Where was
else?
the big hotel?
All of
Well, it's where the
We-
fire station is.
Because we're at a point
Oh,
where
the
we
fire
should probably
station's
have a
not?
little more,
But
you know,
also,
FinCom we
we're
gotta
right
finish.
across the street.
We need to
though.
deal with whatever other feedback.
I think
we
that
get on
parcel
chapters 1
C,
through 5. We
the
don't
Heights
have to
property
do another
should be
bylaw thing until,
a small hotel
Until
or
we're
motel or
sure
something, you know,
where
something that
everything
you
else
get a
is
permanent
put
resident, you know, for you to
the
stay.
publication
Where?
for.
It's the Heights property, we
all of
sold
that.
what's called parcel A to this developer's gonna put in 55 in another housing.
Yeah,
Well,
so
part of the
it's
original
like
plan
the
called for
ones
parcel
that
A
are,
and
you know,
C,
different-
and we're
I've
not
always hated
selling
how
C,
they're on
so
there
the
now
town still could
anyway.
sell C
Right.
for some kind of, you know.
Where's C located?
C is if you were going
Up
down
and back
Maple
or-
Street.
Yeah, going down
It's-
Maple towards Paxton.
Yeah, if you go through Maple, just as you start down Maple, you go about a block down on Maple Street. On the left, that big open space, on the right-hand side of the road, that's parcel C. So if you were gonna go up that road that goes to the back of Rutland through there, to the back of the Heights
I
property,
also,
it's on the right-hand side.
so I do have one prototype.
Mosio
Ah,
wanted to
layout.
buy that years ago.
It's
Who did?
hidden.
Mosio.
No.
It's in the.
So let's start a conversation,
Go in the- in
and
the
people
cabinet,
come in, great, if not, we're
ad
gonna have
hoc
to
document
reschedule.
cabinet, there's
kinda
one
starting to
thing
get to
for,
what the
for
plan
that.
is
I
and
think
the
it's
basics
proposal
of this,
one.
right?
I might have a
So,
proposal one, I might have a second one.
I don't know if
started with
everybody
that.
knows everybody, so I kinda wanted to step quick
But
introduction.
yeah,
I
I
don't know
should
who
give
he
you
is.
the ability
So
to
I'm
at least
Ron
look
Santos,
at
I'm
it,
an
so we can
administrator.
start talking about that too.
And I'm gonna
because
be working
we have
myself
a
and
lot we
David
need
George,
to-
who's on
there's a lot of
the
bookkeeping
Zoom
we
meeting,
need
is
to do.
gonna be support staff to you guys as well, right? So the plan is for me to help you in any way you can, but my job is to kind of support what you guys wanna do, not tell you what to do. I really want this committee kind of decide how it wants to move forward, okay? So, Jeff, why don't you kind of introduce yourself and just a little bit of background, like what you do, so people have an idea how your background might help in terms of economic development.
So these two know.
Thank you,
Actually,
and I'm
everybody in this
sorry.
room-
No, that's okay, no problem.
These people both know who I am, but that's okay. Jeff Gibbs, I've lived in town for 32 years. I'm on the Board of Assessors. I own Gibbs Realty along with my wife for the past 15 years. I've been on the school committee, very involved in town and very interested in what's going on.
Tony?
Tony Santoro, I lived in town 36 years altogether. I own Santoro Outdoor Power. I've been doing that out of my house for about 12 years now.
Bye.
So I'm Bonnie Bessie, connected with Rutland Nurseries and Bigelow Village, and I'm a native of Rutland. Been involved with lots of different committees here.
So I didn't put it in my packet, but you guys will have in your packet, there's a committee charge in your packet.
Is this,
Right.
an entire
Yeah.
package for me?
Yeah, it's one of the packets, there's packets up there for, so I'm gonna grab one of the other ones, since I left a couple of documents out of mine. But there's a committee charge, so the Board of Selectmen has been talking about trying to improve economic development in this town for years, but frankly, I don't think they've done much in terms of actually setting up some kind of organization to work on economic development. So, now we created the commission and made it formal and have a group that is actually going to be dedicated to doing economic development opportunities. So in your packet, you'll see what's called the Economic Development Commission charge. And it has, if you see, it looks like this. It's the back page of that, where you have like stapled or paper put together.
Okay.
You find it?
No?
Okay.
Okay, here we
Okay,
go.
got it?
Is charged with?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So these are the charges. This is the kind of things that we want this committee to look at. Improving agricultural tourism, and work with local farms to enhance economic development opportunities, advising the Board of Selectmen and other town boards on issues concerning bylaws, policies, regulations, and zoning that fosters positive economic development, commercial in particular, strengthen the local economy, and be consistent with maintaining the character of the community. So while everybody wants economic development in town, they want to make sure it fits in with the character of the community. They don't want things that don't look in the community or that would bring in bad elements into town, that kind of stuff, okay? Encouraging business investment in commercial zoning districts, increasing the commercial tax base while minimizing the impact on local services. Okay, one of the things I think this committee would look at is we have a lot of small businesses in town, and Tony, I know you're really aware of this. We have a lot of small contractors in town that are working out of residential areas. We really don't want that. So maybe one of the things that this group can consider is how do we find land to allow, let's call it a mini park, where all these small businesses could go relatively cheap and keep their trucks, keep their equipment, so they don't have to keep it in their residential neighborhood without costing them a fortune in terms of, building a whole building or any of that stuff. So that's something that's kind of an issue that the town would like to have addressed from a positive economic development standpoint, not from just going out and harassing people that they shouldn't be in a residential
I know
zone.
Dick Williams brought up the corner of Ridge Road and Calvin Hill.
Is that the one that's kind of near Holden?
No, on Ridge Road in Rutland and Calvin Hill Road. I guess there's a big property right there, and what the guy owes at the town like $10,000 in back taxes or
Oh, I
something
don't
like
know
that.
about that one.
Yeah, I think he said something like he wanted to look into something like that.
I know there's a very big town-owned piece close to Holden that there was some talk about maybe that could be a land place.
Yeah.
Hey, David, are you on yet? Can you hear me? David George just showed me. He's got a map of the area, though, that's near Holden. It's a big piece of town-owned property that we could sell and maybe create a small commercial industrial park in that. But that's something that we should talk about as we go along. If that's something interesting or not.
Yep.
It makes sense. I know there's a lot of people that might be interested in that
Yeah.
if it can be done where it doesn't cost them that much, you know what I mean?
Yeah. 'Cause I know I thought the planning board was going to be looking at rewriting that bylaw after everything happened with Bobby too.
Well, again, see, part of the purpose of this group is to advise the planning commission on how to create a bylaw that would be positive towards economic development.
Okay.
If a new business came to town and had to go before the planning commission, we're gonna have people that oppose any kind of business. But this group would be, if they thought it was good for the town, could support that business in front of the planning commission, for
Yeah.
instance, or tell the planning commission why this might be good and why it's in the right area or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That's part of what we're trying to figure out. How do we help promote economic development throughout the town departments as well?
Yep.
Okay? Identifying changing economic development trends and develop recommendations to maximize interest in the community and to attract potential new businesses, right? So, I think we all kind of understand that we're not gonna get big manufacturing in town. It's just, we're not in a central place with highway access and stuff, so attracting a big manufacturer is probably unlikely. So, the question is, what does this market demand or need? Do we need specialty clothing shops? Do we need smaller tourist places, gift shops, agricultural tourism, beer, draft beer makers or whatever? What's the name of this place? It's not draft beer, but whatever that, breweries.
Okay.
Developing breweries.
Like Kevin Jarvis.
Yeah, Jarvie type thing, and there's another one, Ryan is trying to put in a brewery as well.
Yeah.
So how do we encourage that? And how do we make sure that when they come to town, that our boards and commissions are looking at favorable at the concept of trying to promote them, not stop them, you know what I mean? So we gotta look at that and help that business go through the process correctly, all right? Assist with generating local opportunity employments, obviously, any business you create creates jobs. Advocating for state and federal grants, incentives, or for improvement in regulations that help advance our economic opportunities and priorities. There are some grants available to do certain things if there's somebody out there that wants to apply for them. For instance, I'm talking about, we have these federal grants, it's called Arpa Funds, that the town got, and we got like over $1 million something for the town. Part of that grant that we got can be used for economic development opportunities. So, for instance, if we were to focus on tourism, and I talked about that in that plan I gave you, the town could put aside money to help you guys develop a plan. Let's say you wanted to do a tourist map. You've been to Plymouth or different tourist towns, you have maps that show where all the restaurants are, where, okay, we don't have hotels, but where the bed and breakfast is, where the lake is, where any lakes are, where the state park is, things that would attract people to come here, right? Even something like the skiing location, which is not far from us, could attract people to come stay here and go skiing, right? So a way to attract people easily that people could pick up a map and say, these are the locations that would be positive for us, right? We would have money, the town has money that we could support that type of activity, because we can use that ARPA money for anything that's related to tourism, economic development and tourism. That would be one of the kinds of things we could use it for. We could use it for marking historical places, putting in markers that would attract people to a particular historical location. There's a lot of different ways we could use it for signage for different areas of town that we want to use it for. So there's a lot of potential things we can do, and we would be able to get money for that. I think the Board of Selectmen would be very supportive if a plan was put together to do those kind of things. This committee would have the access to that money to do it. I think that's a crucial thing about this committee. Represent the town and local business and local and regional business associations. I know Bonnie used to be the head of the Emergence Association in town. So we still want to network. We want to use this to network with the Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce. So I don't know if Jeff, if you're part of that, or you're part of Realtors Group, but we want to use members of this commission to be able to network with other business communities and try to bring them and tie them into this town. So that
We were actually in a business group together years ago.
So that's the kind of stuff we want to use that as a way to encourage business in Rutland, right? Maybe somebody here would want to go to a Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce meeting just to do that networking. How do we streamline permitting, licensing, and other regulatory functions to help new businesses? That's something this committee could work with David George on, and how to do that. Working with commercial property owners, developers, and businesses to identify development hurdles, provide guidance in the permitting process, and recommend potential redevelopment incentives that require.
Mr. Chair, you may notice Dave George's hand is up.
Oh, okay. Dave, I've been trying to talk to you for a while. Go ahead.
Oh, you know what?
David,
Click
can
on
you
the
hear
wall
me?
and
And can
chat.
you speak? I've been trying to talk to you for a while, but
You may not be hearing this. Oh, he's only asked if there's a quorum. Not right now, Dave.
technically, again, if it's there's 5 members, and I don't know if you're correct about vacancies, but we needed 3 technically to create a quorum, I think. Now, we're not gonna vote anyway, so I don't think it really matters, but in theory, I think 3 might work, but we'll check into that later. So David, the question is, we might have a quorum, we have to check and find out if the vacancies count towards a quorum vote. But right now, we only have 3 of the members that showed up. 2 people who said they were coming for some reason aren't here, so we're gonna have to kind of rework it for a future meeting. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can still hear me or not.
Does anybody have a telephone for him? Telephone number?
I don't have his cell phone number.
Maybe if he can hear you, he could type it for you into this.
David, if you can hear me, can you type it for me? Type in or put your hand down if you can hear me.
What's the green dot mean up in the corner?
I don't know.
It just came on.
The chat just came on too.
I don't know why he can't get on.
Oh, was something just down in that box?
Yeah, that's gone now.
Yeah. Somebody's pulling in.
Peter,
Help.
well, he's got the same setup, he can do everything I'm doing from his thing.
What if you click on that
There
chat?
was a red dot because, oh yeah, the chat, so move up. Yeah, just click on the chat button down where the red is, where the red
Bottom
is.
right, bottom right,
Right?
right there.
No.
Let's leave
There
that.
you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
that's end the meeting.
Well, that's what I meant.
Ron, you are muted.
Ron's computer is muted, but there's plenty of audio in this room. Dave, this is just like planning board, where your computer in the room is muted.
How come David can't talk?
I don't know. Well, again, it says that he's muted, that his end is muted.
What if I put on my mic, will the background say?
You are gonna hear so much feedback.
Hey, David.
I'm not joking. Mute it.
Yeah, I did. I don't know, David. You're unmuted, David. Can I unmute him? Do I have the ability to
No,
unmute him?
we don't have the ability to unmute him. We can only ask him to unmute.
So, David, hopefully you can hear us at least. Can you, well, he said I'm muted, so he can't hear me anyway.
He can't talk if he's, oh, you're muted.
Well, he might see that Ron's muted because that computer is muted.
But if he came on, if he said using computer audio, it would have came on. I
It
wonder-
should have come
But
on.
David should know that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna continue, because there's nothing I can do about David right now. So, those are the kind of activities, but what we're generally looking for is any way that this group can do positive activities that support economic development opportunities, be it, one of the things we have, sometimes we get new business that wants to come to town. Like, we had the baseball team that wanted to come and do something in town, and there was really nobody to go to help them with that, right? So they ended up eventually reaching out to me and David, but we would like them to be able to come to this group and talk about, now I want to open up a business here, what do you guys think, how can you help me, and have that conversation. And somebody that we could send people to discuss any kind of opportunity. And one of the things we would want to do is work with you guys to identify land in town that the town owns. The town owns a couple of pieces of property, like the one we were talking about in Holden. How do we market that property? How do we start selling it? Do we get a commercial realtor? Do we put it out for bid? Do we just put land on our web pages? How should we do that? And I created an economic development page for this commission already. So if you go on the town website and you go into boards and commissions and go to economic development, you'll see your names and stuff there. And we could add information onto that web page for you guys. So if you wanted to put in a list of available properties on that page, you could do it, that kind of stuff. Make sense? Okay.
Because I know there's Parker Roth, who owns Parker's Packers in Holden.
Yeah.
I guess he's been trying to move to Rutland for years, trying to find a garage to be able to open up, and they can't find any place that works for him.
Well, that's right. Who does he really
Who
have
is
to help
that?
him though?
He owns Parker's, he fixes old Packards, where the Holden Santa Gravel used to be, the Holden self-storage now.
Okay.
He has a garage over there, but he's trying to find a garage in Rutland. But he needs to find the right garage that's zoned properly. He said he's been doing it for years.
You mean an existing garage though?
Or land he can build a garage on.
Okay. Well, I can't believe that with all this property here, that there's not people that wouldn't sell property for commercial use here. I mean, there's a lot of property.
But it's not
But-
commercially zoned.
Yeah,
It's
he needs
zoned,
to be-
but
he needs
a
to be
lot of it's
commercially
farming,
zoned is
a
the
lot of it's
problem.
farming is zoned.
That's why I said, let's vote to just make everything commercial.
Well, that's something that we need to talk with David about and the planning commission, see, are there pieces of town that we should change the zoning to?
Well,
To
there's
make it
very
work.
few zoning places for commercial,
Right.
because I was on that bylaw committee, and they're all in the outskirts, I think, of the town.
Randy apologizes for not being here. He got tied up at the farm, and he has a fireman meeting tonight.
Okay. Alright, so, again, I'm not surprised, I haven't talked to Randy with the other two, I'm a little surprised, because I did talk, email with them and they were coming, so we'll deal with that. So one of the next things that we have to do, is we're gonna have to eventually, we don't have to do it tonight, but we have to elect officers. Let me just talk about what those roles are. The first thing is the chairman of the group. All the chairman does is organize the meeting, so they create an agenda, they work with members, they create an agenda, they work with my office to have the agenda in Anita's office, the town clerk's office, to post the agenda on the website. And then as the chair, they just run the meeting. If there's decisions to be made, they basically would call on who speaks. They would ask for motions to do things. Let's say that we said we wanted to spend $5,000 on a map or develop a plan. You would say, I want to move that as a group, we develop a plan to advertise all businesses in town. You'd make that motion, somebody would second it, there'd be some discussion, and then you decide to vote yes or no on that. And the chairman just calls the votes and stuff. So the chairman is just in position to kind of organize what happens at the meeting. The vice chairman does nothing unless the chairman's not there. So if the vice chairman only gets involved in running a meeting if the chairman's out of town or can't be sick or something, the vice chairman takes over that role for that meeting. That's what the vice chairman does. The clerk is basically just takes minutes of the meeting, what's said, and they don't have to write every detail, but just the general what happened in the meeting. Tonight the board voted to elect so-and-so as chairman, so-and-so as vice chairman, so-and-so as clerk. That would be in the minutes, just so that anyone who wanted to see what we did could look at those minutes and find out what we're doing. So it's basically just brief notes of what actually happened. If there was a specific vote, they would document that vote. They say, Anthony made a motion to spend $10,000 on this. It was seconded and it was voted on in favor 4-1. That's what the person, the clerk, doing minutes does. And those minutes have to be filed at the following meeting. The clerk would write them, so you'd write the minutes. Next meeting you'd come back and they would vote to approve the meetings, and then they have to be filed in town so that the public could come and get them. They're public documents because this is the town group. Make sense? So that's the organization, and I'll help until we get that structured. I'll run the meeting until we get somebody that will be chair, vice chair. I don't think it's a lot of work, but it's a little bit of work. Just an organization and running a meeting. Randy is the town moderator. He could do it in a heartbeat. I mean, he knows this stuff inside and out. So either Randy, I'd hope, would maybe consider doing it, or if not, he could help somebody that's less experienced in helping explain what you had to do. So he would be here as an advocate for the process no matter what, because he knows it really, really good. So that's one of the things we have to do. And then the only other thing I wanted to do tonight is to have a little bit of a discussion and explain clearly, this is the economic development plan. I think I sent it to everybody. Right, it's in your package.
Yeah,
Did you
you
ever
did.
read this yet?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. So, when I came here, I was trying to think about, this town is clearly, there's no direction, in my opinion, for how the businesses in this town are going. Everybody kind of does their own thing. I don't think the businesses work really well together in trying to chart a path. So I was trying to think about what could actually work in this town in terms of economic development. And this goes back to what we started in the beginning of this. It is highly unlikely that you would get a big manufacturer in town. And the reason for that is big manufacturers like to go close to highways. So they can go to highways, they can get on and off a highway, they can take their trucks in and out. They don't generally like to go to rural areas.
Right.
So it's highly unlikely that they would come this far out where there's not a lot here. Now, what's happening is this town grows and Holden grows and towns around it grow. There may be future opportunities, but I don't think they're here now for that. Or there might be future opportunities for like storage places, places to warehouse stuff. That could be a possibility, but those are less likely things here. What seems to be the obvious thing here is small commercial development. With the new 55 and older, we're developing a agreement with a group called Harbor Homes. And Harbor Homes right now, there's going to be a closing, hopefully not far off, to develop between 88 and 144 units of elderly housing. And that's going to be on the Heights property. There was two pieces that were put out for marketing. One was in what's called Parcel A, and one was Parcel C. When this was put out for sale of town property, they were put out for both properties to be developed on. Since then, all of that project has been moved to Parcel A, so Parcel C is still effectively available for sale. Now, Parcel C will become more valuable as that housing gets built, because now all of a sudden, maybe you can put in a small medical center. You know, maybe they have doctor's offices or something, they're a 55 and older community. So I think the value of that property will go up, and the town will still have the option to market that in the future for what it wants to do. There was some hope that the closing of this property would happen in like March or April of this year on the Heights property. It's possible, but it depends upon the timing it gets through. It gives its detailed site plan and all that stuff. That's what the engineering firm is working on right now, is actually a detailed site plan to develop the property. They gotta get the approvals of the boards and commissions. So it could be as soon as like 4 months, but it could take a little longer too, depending upon how that plays out. But I think that adding that group of seniors could open up some economic development opportunities around there, okay? I think you could get some small specialty retailers here. I think the Strip Plaza, for instance, on the main road is pretty effective. That kind of thing could still happen there. But when I tried to figure out what I thought would be the best opportunity here, and looking at what's currently here, is tourism. So the reason I say that is I'm in Holland, Massachusetts, right near Sturbridge. So I'm very familiar with what happens in Sturbridge. Sturbridge has a ton of hotels, not because Sturbridge needs the hotels, but because Worcester has a shortage of hotels. And they're building hotel space that actually is feeding the Worcester businesses. We're pretty close to Worcester ourselves, so that may be some kind of hotel space, motel space, inn space could be beneficial here, and I think the market could work it, right? But if you look at it from a tourist perspective, you got, you know, the breweries that are coming into town, at least 2, maybe 3 breweries that are coming into town. You have the state park, you have horseback riding, you have a small campground, you have skiing not far away, you have a Christmas tree farm, you have a lot of different types of specialty things that I think would attract tourism. Here, the question is, how do you get them to stay more than coming in for the day and out, because you don't have a hotel or motel or someplace for them to stay. But that's where I say, if you developed a map, for instance, of the sites in town, that the restaurants and the horseback riding, the state park and the trails. Trails are big here, we got some really nice trails. If you develop that and started marketing the town as a tourism location, I think that could help a lot of things. It could help the restaurant business, it could help, you know, the horseback riding, I think the campgrounds, a lot of different things it could help. I see that as the best opportunity for growth in this town. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but that's at least what I think makes the most sense given what we already have here, right? So in this plan, I talk about the demographics, the positives, the negatives, and the things that you could do in the particular tourist attractions that are here and now that we could use as a foundation for moving forward. And then here, because we have the funding available for tourism, we could actually spend money to do those kind of things and back up what what we're trying to accomplish. But this plan wasn't for me to tell you what to do. This plan was to give you guys ideas, give you information, so you guys can start building your own plan as to how we move forward. You know, you got, what made me happy about this group is that we have some really good people that have a lot of knowledge on this group. Randy, having a lot of knowledge in town, the farmland. You and Jeff having the information. You work with the Merchants Association. Elizabeth Callahan is very good with marketing, and she's very involved with one of the local we call it magazines. What they call it, the quorum, not the quorum. They call it the Quabbin magazine. Is that right? Over there? So she's involved with that. She can help us do marketing and that kind of stuff. We have both Jessica, who's involved in the Cornerstone Bank, and Tracy, who's involved in the credit union. So they understand how to, you know, deal with businesses that might want loans and things like that. So I think we have a very talented group. We got to make sure we get everybody here. And then David can help you with all the, you know, if you want to put in any kind of proposals to the planning commission for changes in bylaws or anything like that, David and I could be resources for that kind of stuff, right? So I didn't want to go through this whole plan today, but my concept was maybe next time when we have the meeting, that is the focus. You start looking at this plan and say, okay, I like this idea, I don't like that idea, this is an idea I have. How do we move forward? What do we think we could do to create economic development opportunities? How do we want to deal with real estate issues? I think Jeff could be a huge asset as to what land is available and how we market it in the town, and maybe the issues as it relates to zoning, and how do we change certain areas of town, the zoning issue. David could be a huge help for that, and helping us, the town planner, and trying to look at areas that might be positive for economic development, or might be available land for somebody to purchase or use. I also think there's some farmers that are willing to sell land here. The question is, as you sold that land, you'd also have the planning commission change it to commercial property, you know what I mean? Because the farming is residential, so you have to change that land depending upon where it was. Like, for instance, if it was a farm that bordered Main Street, it makes a lot of sense to change that to a commercial zone, right? So we need to figure out who in town is interested in selling any property, and then if we get that, we need to work with the planning commission to decide how we change that zoning, right? So that's some of the thoughts. So these are the kinds of things that I'm hoping we can kind of talk about going forward. Any thoughts on that, Tony? I mean, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Is it,
Well, we're talking about different things to get people into town. I always wondered, whatever happened to the chowder challenge?
the what challenge?
The Rutland chowder challenge we had.
I don't know. Do they
It
have it?
ran, I think it ran its course, and
I mean, I thought they used to get tons of people into town.
Yeah, we're doing
Yeah,
that with
something-
truck festivals now.
Yeah, or do something like that, yeah.
Well, you even got the 300th anniversary coming up, right?
I know it's coming up,
So
yeah.
you could tie stuff into the 300th anniversary, something that deals with economic development. Sheila Dibbs is very aggressive in promoting activities, so
Yeah.
if this committee wanted to do something that might promote economic
So
development.
this is the calendar we've created so far.
Mhm,
Every single month, we have something,
mhm.
and like.
is that on the website, Bonnie?
Yeah.
Oh, it is? I'll have to go on to that.
Um,
Do you have an extra hard copy of that? Maybe I can just take a
It's
picture.
on the town
I-
website, if you go on the town website
I'll
under
toss
boards
it
and
to
commissions, and look under the 300th anniversary commission, you'd get.
Yeah, I just haven't been on it.
we have the polar plunge, 100 people.
I saw the
Did I?
picture
Yeah, I
of
saw
G
that.
and G.
100 people went in.
Like nuts.
Is that
Luckily, it wasn't that
crazy?
cold.
The water's cold though.
Yeah, it was 48, so it wasn't too bad.
We're getting a lot of people, and every Friday night we had concerts up on the town common. So this calendar is amazing. I'm just.
What's happening with the signs that's supposed to be going up in the town for the,
The signs?
yeah, for the businesses for the tricentennial?
Talking about on the light poles.
Yeah.
The utility poles.
Uh,
So I know she
having
was
them
working
in
on
each-
it, and she had some models, and she was working on it.
The last thing I heard, it was like the hardware was gonna be $100 per sign or something like that, and they were trying to figure out how to pay for that.
But she wasn't gonna make any money on it. I think she was doing it more to help businesses, cause as they looked at it, there was very little money. The price of doing it would be such that it wasn't gonna be a big moneymaker, but I know that Sheila was very positive for it, cause
Well,
I had to get an
we-
agreement with the utility companies to allow us to do it, so I got that done.
Yeah.
We've already sold quite a few, and I think the last part of the puzzle is they're waiting for the item to put on the telephone poles.
Okay.
We had all of the permits and
'Cause
stuff.
yeah, the last time I talked to Barbara Campbell, she said that that's what she was waiting for. Need to get the
Yep.
brackets to hold the signs up.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different things. You got Wachusett Greenway here, you got the State Park, horseback riding. Even the General Roofers Putnam House, it's small, but it's something that would attract people to come to it, right? The Brewery Pubs, we got the Milk Room, Center Tree Bar and Grill, we got Neighborhood Bar and Grill, and I forget what the, is it Lilac Farms? They're
Yep.
creating a brewery over there as well. So that's
Have you been there? That's
I was there when he
They
was
moved
first
their ice
starting.
cream too, I think.
I think he's already got a lot of going, yeah. I knew he was doing a lot of events, one-day liquor license events. So we had a whole bunch of events he was doing. I think he had music and everything else there, but I haven't been to one of the events yet. Did you go?
And not to that, no.
Yeah, I know he's got a lot of different things he's been doing,
Yeah.
so they're
So
working
you-
hard at promoting
I
it.
think instead of trying to do a hotel at first, B&Bs are,
That's what I think is the right thing,
would
is a
be,
bed and breakfast.
everybody in the town that did that would get immediate financial.
I think you need that location for people to come and stay in town for the weekend. You know, be it a fall foliage person, be it somebody wanted to come in for the 4th of July events, whatever it might be, you need a destination to come to, you know?
If you're gonna do something like an Airbnb or something like that, you're gonna want something that has a view of some sort, or in the woods.
Farmland.
Exactly, yeah,
Farmland is
something like
a
that.
huge attraction right now.
Yeah,
Is having that farmland, especially with parents who want to bring kids to see the animals. And the hiking trails are huge. The state park is beautiful. We have a beautiful state park. I mean,
A friend of mine just went to Pennsylvania, and he said he stayed in Airbnb. The house was in the direct middle of 100 acres of corn.
I just say, I'm surprised
Yeah.
none of the current farmers have really thought about doing a bed and breakfast there. Because they're really popular. You know, but that's something that's something I'm very supportive of. I just think we have to find a way. How do you get a company that would wanna come in here and create a bed and breakfast? That may be one of those things where if there's town-owned land, we put it on our RFP, we said, okay, we tried to attract those companies, we could sell that land at a lower price in order to attract that type of business. That's something that I think the town would consider if we had a plan for how we're gonna go forward with it, right? So that's the kind of topics I just wanted to kind of, this to me was just to kind of all have some basic information and talk about it, but, going forward, my plan was to be more detailed. Now, it seems that we're gonna have to have another meeting to get organized, cause this didn't play out the way I was hoping tonight, but.
Yeah, so should we, what's the date?
So I'm gonna reschedule another meeting,
Right,
and I'm gonna schedule it pretty soon. I don't know about next week, but pretty soon, cause I wanna get this thing going, and I'm gonna make individual calls I remember and make sure they come, because I think it's critical that we get this off the ground and move it. So I'll set up a meeting, I'll through email, I'll let you guys know and talk to you. It will be within the next 2 weeks,
mhm.
and like I said, next time, I'll literally make the calls to make sure people show up. Anybody else have any ideas or thoughts? Do you like the concept of this, Jeff? Does this make sense?
Absolutely.
Tony, you
Absolutely.
think this makes sense
Yeah.
logically?
There's quite a bit of possibility and there are lots of options.
I think there is, and we got good people on the commission, we just gotta get them to be here. But I think we got a team of people with bankers and credit union people and farmers, and I think we got a good group of people to start moving this forward. Even, for instance, we don't have, since the Rutland Business Association has kind of faded away, we don't have that. Is that something that may be able to be jump-started? Maybe there's people interested in re-jump-starting that, or do we get involved more with the Worcester Chamber of Commerce and become more active and engage the business community with them? I created, for the first time, an email list of businesses. So I have an email list of businesses. So you guys could use that email if you wanted to send out information. You can give it to me and I can send out an email to not all the businesses, but a good chunk of businesses in town to get information out to them. I've only did 2 emails because I don't want to use that to annoy people. I want to use it for stuff that's important. But if we wanted to create a map of the town or something, a tourist map, I have that connection now where I've actually built up a list of businesses, so we have that as an asset we can use too. So that's the gist. Any other comments before we adjourn and we reschedule?
So we thinking monthly?
Well, so here's the issue. You have to meet at least quarterly. Now, I would think if you're really trying to do things, you'd meet monthly, is what I would think. And you guys are all gonna have to decide what day, of the month you guys wanna meet. And I was hoping if enough people were here, we could kind of make that decision. But next meeting, we'll try to get everybody to agree on the same time every month on some day. We just gotta make sure you coordinate my office, because we gotta make sure you have a Zoom account. If this stuff gets crazier, we're gonna have more Zoom meetings. So I need to make sure that meetings don't overlap, that we don't have other boards and commissions meeting at the same time. So that's the only thing. And most people like the 6 o'clock meeting time, because they just finished dinner, they can meet, and then they have the rest of the night to do whatever they want. But you guys can do whatever you want. You can meet at 7 o'clock or 7:30, whatever works for the group, And we still have spaces for more members, so if you know somebody that's interested, by all means, let me know, and I can get them on the board, so.
Is there any reason why, I don't know how the board would feel about it, but can we do early morning meetings?
Well, the only reason you wouldn't wanna do that is because then you're never gonna get citizens at nighttime when they're working. So, the reason that most town meetings are at night is because then people can attend if they want to. In the morning, a lot of people work, so they can't, they gotta take care of work, but in theory, could you do it? Yeah. Is it popular? The answer is no, they don't really like to do it. But in theory, you could. The
Well,
only committee I know that does that is the bylaw.
let's look at who's on the committee. Who do you think could not do it?
I don't know, you got
early
2
morning?
people that work at banks.
Yeah, well, they don't start right away,
Okay, you're talking about 8 o'clock in the morning, you're talking about,
morning.
yeah, you'd have to do it early, like before
Yeah.
they started.
I
It's
mean,
possible.
groups that we used to be I'm just talking here, we used to meet at 7 o'clock.
In the morning?
Yeah,
If your group all wants to do that.
I mean, it's only because a lot of us need to get going onto our day, one, and two, at the end of the day, we're kinda,
But if you can do in-person meetings, the buildings don't even open here till 8 o'clock, so. So it depends on what you were doing. If you could do in-person meetings, you'd have to wait till at least 8, unless we can get the library to allow you to come in at 7. But then, again, if you
We
have
couldn't
Zoom
get
meetings,
access?
we'd have to run it ourselves and stuff, because the public access guys aren't gonna be here,
yeah.
Something to talk about, I mean, anything has been possible, we just gotta talk about
Yeah,
it.
morning, I kinda like the idea of morning meetings, cause at the end of the day, you've been working hard.
As long as you guys provide breakfast, we're good.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we used to do that too.
Chip into some of that money you're just talking about. Get some bagels.
Support the local businesses.
There you go. We gotta eat too, right?
My speakers were off, I apologize. So David, can you hear me now?
He would have been saying stuff.
He says the speakers were.
Yes, I can.
Okay,
And the issue was on mine, and I apologize for that.
that's okay, no problem.
He heard we were wrapping up.
Yeah. Hey, David, do you remember that land up in near Holden you were talking about for some kind of, small kind of commercial park for builders and stuff?
Yes, there's a parcel that's owned by the town, just over the town line,
Yep. Okay.
on Route 68, yep.
Yep. That's a land I was talking about. Anthony was talking about another parcel of land where supposedly the owner has back taxes owed to the town. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not sure, do you have an address?
What's
The
that
corner of Calumet Hill and Ridge Road.
Corner of Calumet Hill and Ridge Road.
Is that the circle?
I'm not aware of that offhand, no.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, it's not. Is it Princeton Road? Yeah, it's Princeton Road turns in Cal, so it's Princeton Road and Ridge Road right there.
Princeton Road and Ridge Road?
Yeah.
Princeton Road and Ridge Road. If you can, send me the specific address, and then we
Okay.
can look up on the tax rolls and find out what the situation is.
I know
That
that
in
it
a-
was something Dick Williams brought up to me.
Dick Williams brought it up?
Yeah.
Is
'Cause
that
that-
right now zoned residential? What's it zoned?
I don't know what it's zoned. It has to be zoned business because his aunt had the antique store right there years ago.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Eddie Buck's old house.
I've been in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
surprised it's still standing.
So David, I think one of the things we would want is a good zoning map that kind of shows us clearly what the commercial zones are and what the residential zones are and stuff, so we can look at that. I know you
Yes,
have.
we have access to that, you have also access to it. If you pull up the GIS map, if you have access to that, maybe Peter can show you, you can zoom in to different parts of the town and overlay the zoning map on top of the parcel map and take a look as well.
Okay. So that's that's on the GIS, that's on the town website, and it's under what, GIS map, what's it under? Is it
That's
in your-
correct, yep.
As I said, do you have to go to planning commission, where you gotta go?
You go to the
Fine.
town, you go to the town's homepage.
Yeah.
Let's see here. You go to the town's homepage, you'll see that on the left-hand side, there are about 10 blocks of resources. You click on GIS property info.
Oh, Peter's putting it up now, okay.
And then once you're there, you can enter a parcel of interest. You'll see over here that there's layers on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
So one of the layers is a zoning map layer.
Yeah.
So if you click on that, that'll overlay on top of the parcel map.
Okay. Peter's working on it now, I think he's doing it. So that's showing me the parcels, but Peter, can you show me what's zoned? Like, is there a zoning map that shows what's residential, what's commercial? Is that available there?
It's an overlay.
It's not this overlay though.
No, this is the beginning. He's not there yet.
Yeah. Peter, can you get me to that if you got that up? Okay.
Technology.
There should be a mic between here and there.
So I mean, the good news here is if you go on the town website and you wanna look at the maps, you can go on and look and find out exactly what you wanna do. You've gotta be familiar with doing this, Jeff,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
easy for you.
Yep.
Okay. Alright, Peter, don't worry about it tonight, as long as we know it's available, that's fine. So Dave, do you have anything you might wanna add before we adjourn?
No, I think I'm pretty much all set. I'm assuming that the group is up to date in terms of the charge, the presentation,
Yep.
and the overall major goal, so.
Yeah, I went through all of that with them. You know, I talked to, I don't know, you didn't hear me before, but I talked to a couple of board members who said they were coming and for some reason didn't make it. So Tracy, said she was coming and couldn't make it. Randy, something came up and he couldn't get here. And Elizabeth Callahan was sick, but I thought she was gonna join us via Zoom. So I'm gonna have to re-engage and call another meeting within like 2 weeks and try to make calls and make sure everybody's gonna show up, okay?
All right, yep.
Okay. Alright, with that, I'm gonna just adjourn the meeting. We didn't have to vote anything, but, we'll reschedule and I'll get a hold of you guys and we'll go from there, okay? Make sense?
So you're gonna come up with dates or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna come up with dates and I'm gonna send them out to you guys and line it up. And this will, the next meeting will be, probably another 6 o'clock type meeting. And then after that, you guys can, once you have, with full committee meets, we can discuss what might be a better timing and date. Okay?
Sounds good.